Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/slash stories, where we see a cheating wife getting exactly what she deserves. Let's begin. My wife of 5 years sexted with another man she works with. Posted by Reddit user Some Edge.
I came here seeking advice on how to continue to cope with my situation. My wife and I have reconciled at this point, but I'm still in pain. Background: my wife is an ER nurse and the guy, John, is an EMT. They've worked together for 8+ years, but not directly, just periodically when she's working and he brings a patient in via ambulance. Apparently, everybody likes John at work and she's always had good interactions with him, and from my understanding, they've only had a working relationship up until a few weeks ago, but a few months ago, she told me he gave her some prolonged hug that was a little awkward for her. Fast forward a couple weeks and my wife tells me John sent her an inappropriate message via Instagram messages. I'm irritated naturally, but she says she didn't reciprocate anything. I tell her she needs to set boundaries with him and rethink how she acts around him, because John must have felt this type of message was worth sending for some reason. Nobody just randomly sends a dirty message to a coworker. Another few days go by and my wife comes home crying. She doesn't want to tell me in front of our 2 young children, but I get her to tell me in short. She tells me she's afraid she has feelings for someone else and she doesn't know what to do about it. Then she tells me it's with John. Again, mad, but now also hurt. After the kids are in bed, she goes into more detail. She had been talking to John for about a week via Instagram and she loves talking to him and how he makes her feel about herself. My wife battles with low self-esteem. She said their conversations were 100% platonic until the dirty message I mentioned previously, but he'd been complimenting her and just showing interest in talking to her. Then she told me earlier this same day she had initiated a dirty conversation via Instagram with him that went on for 10 to 20 minutes. She swears on our kids no pictures were sent, just dirty texts. I am unable to see any of the messages because they happened in vanish mode. She says she'd been freaking out all day about it and how guilty she felt, but that it felt good to feel so wanted by somebody else because she's so self-conscious about herself. We were able to talk it through and it ended on a positive note, but I did explain it was going to take time for me to heal. A couple days later, she says she needs to talk to me. She doesn't know how to act around John because she still has to see him at work. I tell her explicitly, I can only handle a strictly professional relationship between you two, and I tell her she shouldn't talk to him outside of work for any reason. She doesn't want to treat John differently at work because coworkers could notice and ask questions. I say that's fine, but no talking outside of work. She was clearly bothered by that, but said she would do that for me in a sort of reluctant tone. I took her phone Christmas morning and she had sent to John, "Merry Christmas," in vanish mode on Instagram. We fought again. She again explains how she wants to remain friends and there's nothing wrong with wishing someone a Merry Christmas, and that she set boundaries with him and she trusts nothing will ever happen again. Again we work through it, ends on a positive note. I try so hard to end every fight we have with a positive resolution, and we have a nice Christmas, but I still can't stop thinking about it. That night, we got into it again and I really let my feelings out and I told her I can't deal with her maintaining anything outside of a professional relationship with him. Again, ends well, we actually have sex, but she never committed to cutting things off with him completely. Anyways, long story short, she expressed to me she has feelings for John. They exchanged dirty messages, no pics or physical intimacy, but now she still wants to talk to him outside of work. Am I supposed to trust her and allow her to maintain this friendship? Am I an asshole for telling her who she can't talk to? Do I stand my ground and make her promise me she won't ever talk to him again? I really struggle with the idea of her communicating with him in ways that I'm not privy to. She said she can only text him on vanish mode because he doesn't want his wife to see. Elmau, I know. I'm thinking maybe if she can talk to him in a way that I can see the messages, then maybe I'll be more comfortable with it. But she said it would be weird knowing I'd be reading their conversations. I don't know what to do. I really want to stand my ground and make her promise to cut ties.
Yeah, OP, what you need is a spine. Unfortunately for you, yours is non-existent. If you want to find it though, divorce her and tell his wife, stop tolerating this bullshit behavior. And now for today's second story. My wife cheated on me thinking she will have a wealthy life, but it didn't went exactly like she was thinking. Posted by Reddit user Still Debate.
I have been with S for 5 years and married for 2, and in those 7 years everything for me was great. When we first met it was love at the first sight. I loved her more and more in these years. My friends even made fun of me for my changed character when I was with her. Before meeting her I was usually a cold, tough, and very hard man. My character went from my experience in the army and due to my parents' character, and I have never been so vulnerable with anyone apart her. So in this 7 years everything for me was perfect. I was doing a job that was paying me very well. I finally had some money and I was extremely in love with the woman of my dreams. Thinking now, I was smart enough to make a trust where I put all my money and properties and giving to my best friend and my sister the rule of executors. I did this because my best friend was divorced, and he must split all his money and properties with his ex-wife when she never contributed to pay a single cent. So I did this to be protected from a possible, but at that time impossible, divorce and for emergencies, because at that time I wasn't financially stable, so I must have a security net. Then before the marriage we both agreed to do a prenup where the only condition was that if one of us would cheat, he or she wouldn't have any type of alimony. In my country it is legal. The thing is that when she proposed me this, I was a bit in shock because I never thought for 1 second to cheat on her or that she would cheat on me, so it came out of the blue, but I accepted it. The first year of marriage was perfect. We were wealthy thanks to my job that was paying very well. We're renting a very big and nice house. We're enjoying our life, doing amazing experiences, going to amazing places for vacations, and we went out to know new people and friends. Unfortunately, the second year wasn't so good because I started to work with my company to sign a very big client with us. So I admit that I was using all my energy for my work and I told her this. But she was okay because my work was our first and only source of money since she wasn't having any intention to work but just being a stay-home wife. Anyway, I knew that my work was getting difficult and I was always tired after it. But I tried my best to make her happy and satisfied unless the stressing period, about 6 months. In fact, many times I put aside my personal life to prioritize her over myself just to not make her sad, feeling alone and without attention. My routine was getting up very early in the morning, gym, making breakfast for her, work, coming home and preparing her dinner and then spending time with her instead of relaxing. I went like this for 6 months and after the client finally signed with us, I booked a 2-month vacation in her favorite place, Paris, to release stress and tension. The vacation went very well because I thought that we became stronger and more in love with each other, but when we came back home I noticed that she was changing. She became distant, cold, and always looking at the phone instead of talking with me like before. I tried to talk to her about this many times, but her excuse was personal problems and stress, so I let it slide. This went on for 6 months. One day, I was having a very important meeting where the big boss was about to announce the raises, so I was nervous because finally my hard work and dedication were about to pay off with a big raise. In fact, I had a raise of 30% on my salary because of the signing with the big client, and after the meeting, I told my co-workers that I was about to take a couple days of vacation to celebrate the important news and they all agreed. So that day I went home early to give the announcement to my lovely wife, but when I parked my car, I heard very loud voices of someone who was having sex coming from my house, but I thought that I heard wrong because my wife would be shopping with her friend. Until, while I was getting near to the door, I heard her voice, so I took a moment to take out my phone and record the scene. When I entered, the end of the world happened. I caught her having sex with a random guy, and when I called her name, the shock on her face was just absolutely priceless. After I entered and I recorded like 1 minute, the guy sneaked out of our house partially nude and with clothes in his hands, leaving my wife covered with a cushion. I swear to God, I wanted to destroy everything, but I just was in shock and didn't say anything. I went to my room to pack all my stuff and she started angrily to accuse me of cheating, and that all this wasn't real and that I was just dreaming. Thinking now what she was saying was just absurd and with 0 sense. I took like 30 minutes to pack my stuff and drove away, and when I left that house, I just had a sense of relief and that all my anger and tension was going away. I stayed in a hotel for some days while my phone was bombarded with calls and texts from her. I ignored everything and changed number. After a few more days, I contacted a lawyer and told him all the situation, and he said, "You are a smart ass. I can guarantee that apart from having half of your money, she wouldn't get anything else from you." So after a few months of no contact, I sent her the divorce papers. In those months of no contact, I heard that she found a job to barely maintain the house, and when she got my divorce papers, she went on a meeting with her lawyer and mine with a big smile on her face and said, "I did the right thing cheating on you. I will have all your money and I wouldn't have to work for the rest of my life. Me and my lawyer smiled at each other and he put on the table the prenup agreement, and she immediately understood her mistake. She would only have half of my money and nothing else. Then S started to cry and begging me to forgive her, that it was just a little mistake, that she loves me and this kind of stuff. This scene went on for 20 minutes and finally she signed the papers. She realized that the money she would have was enough to pay 5 months of rent of our house and that she was fucked. While I was going out of the place, she ran behind me repeating all the stuff. It was a mistake. She loves me. I must forgive her and all this shit. Coming to nowadays. I met a new girl and we are dating since a few months. I'm happy. I have my work that pays me well and my life is again happy. From what I heard, she stayed at our old house for some months until the money has ran out, and now she is living in a small apartment near her new job. Of course, she tried again to contact me, but I never answered her texts and calls because I don't feel anything for her but just indifference. I still thank my best friend for his advice of the trust. P.S. Sorry for my English, but it's not my first language, so I tried my best.
You know, I've seen a few examples of these kind of weird prenup fantasy stories here on Reddit over the years, and it's very weird. It's almost as if this story is typed out by an angsty teenager practicing his creative writing skill. Still, it was a fun read, OP. B+. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to Pattsun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.